"No man is an island entire of itself, every man is a piece of the continent, a part of the main," wrote John Donne 400 years ago. But one meeting with Olafur Arnalds would have changed his mind. Arnalds is an Icelander who has carved out a musical niche clearly influenced by classical Western music as well as ambient pop. But it would be unfair to place him in either slot. Listen to Remember, https://mkx.lnk.to/remember. 31-year-old is about to arrive in Toronto with a string quartet and a percussionist to offer a one-night sample of his latest musical thinking for Luminato at the Elgin Theatre on Sunday, June 24. I catch up with him on the phone from Bali, which I suggest is about as different from Iceland as you can get. Arnalds disagrees. There are a lot of things in common between Bali and Iceland, he offers. They're both small volcanic islands and quite isolated historically from the rest of the world. I feel a lot of kinship here, article continued. Below, he is taking a short break from the first leg of his All Strings Attached tour, which is whisking him and his bandmates around the world over the course of this year. Arnalds has just returned from a friend's house for our Skype interview. His friend's children were teaching him how to play the gamelan. I ask if he wants to bring the Indonesian gong sounds into his repertoire. "Musically, I would find it very hard to incorporate," he replies. "Starting to understand these sounds is broadening my mind a lot, and that is influencing me, but you may not hear it in my music." It turns out that the house where he has just come from is the same one Ryuichi Sakamoto and David Bowie stayed at 4 decades ago. They were taught by the kid's grandmother. Although we may not hear the gamelan in Arnalds' music, his way of layering musical motifs has certain parallels, just like Iceland and Bali. Olafur Arnalds is a 31-year-old Icelander who has carved out a musical niche and is coming to Toronto for a one-night sample of his latest musical thinking. For his current tour, Arnalds is bringing along 3 wired pianos. He plays a grand piano that is connected to 2 Yamaha uprights controlled digitally. "I've worked on the algorithmic program with a friend of mine who knows a lot more about computers than I do to create a software where I can play all 3 pianos at the same time," article continued. "Below, as he plays one keyboard, the other 2 respond to what I do in a generative way. The software allows Arnalds to move beyond fixed loops into music that gently, gradually, transforms as he plays." The string quartet and percussion follow along in songs that are atmospheric, almost meditative, at times. He embraces a spare aesthetic. "I do like to keep the music open for interpretation," he explains. "If you look at my past music, it's often trying to say as little as possible in order to set the scene for a listener to make up their own stories, and connect it to events in their life while growing up." Arnalds tried to study formal composition at the Music Conservatory in Iceland, but he felt stifled. He wanted to try something different. "Sometimes the emotions being communicated in classical music are not necessarily that relevant today. We are dealing with very different things, and the world is very different." Arnalds says, "By keeping the music very open, I get a lot of messages on social media," he continues. "I see how the same song has completely different meanings to different people, ranging from depressing to uplifting and happy. It shows how relevant this is, and I like to work with that a little bit." Like Iceland and Bali, Arnalds is finding a way to lure in a whole generation of curious travelers. For details on Olafur Arnalds' All Strings Attached, visit luminatofestival.com. Classical music writer John Arnalds is supported by the Rubin Institute for Music Criticism, San Francisco Conservatory of Music, and Ann and Gordon Getty Foundation.